Hey guys, John here. I actually have Christopher Minori. He's actually the writer of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre play, and we're going to be reviewing Doctor Sleep. If you don't remember him, he was actually my guest for when we did The Shining last year. We didn't like The Shining so much, but this one is definitely an improvement from Stephen King's adaptation of Doctor Sleep. With that being said, let's go on ahead and get on with the review. Hey Chris, how you been doing, man?
Hey, hey. God, I love that opening music you got. The opening music to my show sucks, so yours is so much better.
Thank you. I do appreciate that. But don't forget, you also die. You die on every game, and you suck at gaming.
I
So it actually
I
goes in good with your
I
theme.
do.
So,
I do, right. The music sucks and so do I. Yeah, I'm
so
doing good, man.
great.
Just to throw this out here, it's Texas Chainsaw Musical. And it's doing good. We don't have any new shows coming up, but hopefully soon. And I got a new play coming out, premiering in September, and new book I'm working on. So good stuff.
Awesome. I'm glad to see that you're keeping busy during these times and everything. So that's always great. So, but further ado, let's go ahead. Let's dive into this thing, man. Because here's the thing: you and I both didn't like the very first Shining. We shit all over it.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'd say not liking it is very kind.
Right. But if I have to say this, though, because Stephen King didn't like that adaptation of the very first Shining movie, but I can tell you this, I can guarantee you that he likes this version over what we had with the Stanley Kubrick movie.
Yeah,
But
he
what I
does.
like, yeah. And just to give some people some context on what this film's about, I'm just going to go on ahead and mention this. Yes, it is the sequel to The Shining. It takes place with Dan Torrance. He's still traumatized by the stuff that happened in the 1980s over at the Overlook Hotel, and he is guided by the ghost of Dick Halloran to capture the ghost of the Overlook and locked boxes. So that's just a little bit of a synopsis of what the film's actually about and what it entails. But here's the thing: this movie didn't do so well at the box office. As a matter of fact, I went to the theater to see this, and it has a budget between 45 million and 55 million, and the box office was at 72.3 million is what it made. So it barely made its money back, which is sad because it came out at a bad time anyways, because of the fact that it came out during not veterans. I think it was a veterans movie or whatever that opened up the same day on November 8th.
Midway, Midway.
Yeah, Midway. It was the one that beat it.
Yeah.
But I have to say this: I love the slow build to this movie. The slow build is exactly what it needed, and I like how at the very beginning you actually see Rose the Hat, and she's picking up on this girl, and it has this. To be honest with you, it has like a Stephen King's It kind of flavor to it because all of a sudden you see Rose the Hat, she's over friendly to this girl, and you're not sure where it's gonna go, and then you see. I like how the camera angle all of a sudden just puts all those other characters that follow Rose the Hat, and it just gives you that little sliding effect of moving those characters forward. And I like how they did that, and you're just horrified for the little girl.
Yeah. Yeah, I like first of all, I would say this is not actually a horror movie, right? I would almost consider it more of a drama or suspense film, right? There's not a lot of like there is a little bit, but not a lot of straight out horror. But what I love is that
It's more of
they
the
don't hold
psychological.
back. They kill a couple kids in this movie and painfully, right? That kid with the baseball, whoo, they stab them to create more pain to make that the steam more powerful. But yeah, it's a movie that doesn't hold back, and that's great. I mean, it's hard to do. They don't, you know, killing children in films usually doesn't go over too well.
No, most definitely doesn't. And that's another thing too. I would actually put this as like psychological horror or
Yeah,
psychological thriller
absolutely. Yeah.
than anything. And like I said, I also like the opening when you see Dick and Danny talking back and forth, and he's still having the visions of that woman that was locked inside the hotel room.
Yeah.
And he's telling
In
Dick,
room 237.
yeah, in room 237, she's still following him, even though he's not in the Overlook, but his own demons is actually following him. because of the
Yeah.
things that happen in the Overlook. And
Yeah.
I liked how Dick is like, look, either you're gonna have to go ahead and take this thing down, or she's gonna take you down, basically. So therefore, what I want you to do is I want you to look at this box, and I want you to remember the shape of it. I want you to remember the inside of the box. I want you to remember it from front to back because this is something that's going to save your life. And he
Yeah.
puts all these ghosts in his head in this box, and it's tucked away in his head. I loved how they played that off. That was really good writing. Of course, it's also in the book as well for Doctor Sleep in the very first chapter. And then you also see whenever he's actually facing that ghost and he shuts the door because he used to just pee in the sink, and then he winds up
Yeah.
uh, taking down the ghost, and then goes into 2011 where he's actually an adult, and
Mhm.
you can definitely tell he's actually picking up his father's habits.
Yeah, yeah, he is a drunk as well. He's violent when he's drunk, right? He beats the hell out of that guy with a cue ball, and he's not a nice guy, right? He's he steals the money from that one lady he has a one night stand with,
But he
even
does
though
put the
he
money
sees her
back.
kid.
Yeah,
I don't think he does he?
yeah, I
I
think
don't
he
think he
actually does
does put
because
it back.
okay, because I remember
Yeah.
Dick saying, "Put it back."
Right, he does say that, but I don't think he does.
Okay,
I believe he takes it with him, and it's something that haunts him. Right later on, he has a vision of the mother and the baby in his bed. Saying basically, they never found us. You left us this way, and they never found us. So yeah, he wasn't a nice guy when he was drunk. And that
most
last incident is what made him actually join AA.
exactly. And you know, I would have to say this though: when you look at this movie, it's not because, but Jack, he was drinking basically just to drink.
Mhm.
There was no really basics into why he was drinking, other than the fact that alcoholism followed him as a young kid and followed him to adulthood, especially whenever it goes into him basically witnessing his father beating the hell out of his mom and everything with a cane. So that was in the book. That's not in the movie, but that's why Jack was drinking. And this one, it's just Danny trying to get rid of these ghosts, that's these demons that's inside of him, trying to erase things that happened from the Overlook, and it's just taken over his life to the point where he's drinking, he's doing cocaine, he's stealing, things like that. So
Yeah.
it's definitely on a different level than what Jack Torrance was going through.
Yeah. Well, he's trying to drink his demons, whereas Jack was really creating his demons with his drink. And the thing about Jack's drinking is, he quit before he goes to the Overlook, and then he goes to the Overlook, and they really ply him with the ghosts with booze, and so you have to wonder. I mean, they're ghosts, right? A lot of what happens in the Overlook isn't real, right? It's mind games, and so is he a dry drunk, right? Is he not really drunk because there's not really booze? It's who he is. Whereas for Danny, it's it's uh, it's something he uses to push down these things, to forget about these things, and once he gives up the booze, and he's really able to handle it more.
Right, exactly. It's basically an escapism for him to forget about things. And then Danny winds up going over into this little small town. And, I like how he has a great character arc. I'm going to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, he does.
This to me should have been the story arc of Jack,
Hmm.
when you just a little small introduction into Jack, and then getting into that kind of thing,
Hmm.
because I have to agree with Stephen King with the very first Shining movie. It was like starting up a car engine, and it just went to 90 to nothing, and that's all we
Yeah,
got. There was
yeah,
nothing there before Jack was actually crazy. Jack was crazy
no.
before the Overlook.
Yeah, that was the
And
problem with hiring Jack Nicholson, wasn't it? Because they hired him because he could play a crazy guy. But and that was great once. you had if you had gotten to that part and then he started acting crazy, but they never showed, and we've discussed this before, they never showed Jack sober trying to fight his demons, right? There was
Right.
no character arc. It was just a straight line.
Exactly. Just a straight narrow line of this is who he is, and that's it. He's an alcoholic. He's not fighting anything. He's already conquered, supposedly, his conquered his demons with the
Yeah.
drinking. And to me, you need to show the audience that so that way they can cheer Jack on because of the fact that he conquered those things. But they do it, and so this is actually like a redemption story to The Shining in a sense because of the fact that whatever Kubrick didn't do, this handled things on a different playing field because of the fact that
Yeah, it
yes,
really did.
you have nostalgia and everything, but here's the thing with this director, he made it to where it didn't rely on just the fact that it's a Shining sequel. He allowed the movie to be balanced out and let it be a Doctor Sleep movie rather than just keep on slapping us with the same things over and over again from the Overlook and stuff. So that's something I liked. I like the fact that he was able to carry it on its own.
Yeah, he really he pulled the best parts of the movie, right? He pulled the most iconic stuff, the chopped out door, right? From when Nicholson was like, "Oh, here's Johnny," and the maze and the elevator, the two little girls, and of course, room 237. I mean, he really grabbed the best parts. And it's interesting, he ended this movie the way the original novel, The Shining,
Mm-hmm.
ended, right? The
Exactly.
the the Overlook exploding because of the boiler.
Right.
And that always annoyed me in the movie is the Overlook doesn't die, right? It's just
Right.
Jack Nicholson freezes and the Overlook continues on, and it doesn't. It's the Overlook is the bad guy in that movie, and he never gives it its ending. And you always
Oh,
need in a movie, how does the bad guy die? How does the bad guy uh, get even? Right? How do people get even with the bad guy? And in Kubrick's The Shining, it just doesn't happen. And I've said this before. I'm going to say it again.
no, no, no.
Unpopular
Because
opinion. You know where I'm going.
right.
Kubrick is a shitty director. I don't care what anybody says. Kubrick is a shitty director. He spends too much time. Here I go.
Well,
I'm on my rant, baby. He spends too much time on stuff that doesn't matter and not enough time on the stuff that does matter. And yeah, he's got a couple good movies, but when you do enough movies, it's like a broken clock, right? It's right
right.
twice a day.
Well, another thing though too is I'm glad that you mentioned the boiler and stuff like that because of the fact that that also happens in this movie, and Danny winds up sacrificing himself to save
Mhm.
Abra, which is something that
Right.
I really liked. And in the book, Jack actually sacrifices himself to save Danny.
Hmm.
And you didn't have that redeemable quality. And then you have Abra who's trying to tell these ghosts to leave Danny alone, just as like Danny was talking to the ghost to leave
Hmm.
Jack alone in The Shining. So you
Yeah.
have a redemption story built up with that, and also too, you have Danny that is trying to fight this ghost, and it's the same thing. It's the same way of that it was described in the Shining novel, where Danny has the axe. He's about to kill. Jack is about to kill Danny with the axe, and then Danny winds up trying to talk Jack down,
Hmm.
and that's exactly what Abra does. And I love
Yeah.
that. I was geeking out in the theater when I saw this. I said, "I know what you're doing. I see what you're doing over there. I like what you're doing."
Yeah.
And you know, and I'm eating this up. I love this movie so much. And then when you see him Danny going into the small town, and then you're introduced into these other new characters, and Danny's entering these people's lives. They don't know him from Adam or anything like that. He just got off a Greyhound, and
Yeah.
they're trying to put their trust in him, and he's trying to get sobered up. And so he winds up going to this hotel to actually get straightened out. But the girl said, "Look, we'll let you stay here." And also, too, you also had a guy who vouched for him that didn't know him, and he's like, "Look, I'm gonna vouch for you. You'll have a place to stay. You owe, I think it was like what, 300 a week or something like that
Hmm.
that he had
Yeah.
to pay." And
Hmm.
then we wind up seeing that being played out, and then at the same time, then you see Abra's story coming together. because then you wind up finding out that she has a shine just like Danny does, but it's 10 times powerful than what Danny's shine is.
Mhm. I would suggest it's even deeper than that, right? He's not trying to save Abra. At that point, she's
No,
been saved, right? I mean, he's trying to save her throughout the movie, but by the point that he's sitting in
it's
front of
all
the
about
boiler,
self at the very
he's not
beginning.
trying to save her. He's trying to kill his demons, right? He's taking care of what has haunted him his entire life. It's all about what he needs to destroy. And when it explodes, it's him um, sacrificing himself to kill the ghosts of the Overlook, and I love that. I really love that. I think it's so poignant.
It is. And, even though he told Dick that he didn't want to teach anybody, and I don't think at that point when he was trying to get sober, he wasn't going to teach Abra. If she just randomly showed up, hey, Dan, I have this shine, he wouldn't have taught her.
Yeah.
But since he got sobered up and has a right mind of thinking now,
Hmm.
he wants to help her because he knows how
Yeah.
much danger she's actually in, and she doesn't even know that she's in any danger at all of the things that she's done to Rose the Hat. But you also
Right.
have this other character though too that has the shine that can make people sleep and things like that too. And they pick her up over at the movie theater, and it's the Crow that picks her up. Not to get mixed up with Brandon Lee's the Crow, but
Yeah.
the Crow winds up picking her up.
Right.
And so, anyways,
Uh,
they said, "Well, do you want to live forever?" She goes, "Well, what do you mean?" So then, of course, that's when they start feeding her the shine. But in order for them to feed her the shine, she has to die and then
yeah.
resurrect to come back.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Absolutely. I think. Oh, what was I going to say here? I think it's interesting because at one point Rose the Hat says, "You're just like me. You're so much like me," and I think she's right in a lot of ways. Right? Abra is very cocky. Right?
Hmm.
That one scene, she traps Rose. She pulls Rose in to trap her, right? And she does that a few times through the movie. So she's not just some innocent kid or some scared kid, some victim. I mean, sure, she's a victim because they're trying to get her, but she's she's taken things into her own hand, and I think that's really interesting. I think Rose had a point. She wasn't going to kill other kids, to get their steam, but on the other hand, she had no problem killing the what do they call them? The square, the knot, the knot. She
Not.
had no problem killing the knot. In fact, not only that, but she tells Crow, "I hope this hurts."
Hmm. That's exactly right. She says that she hopes that it hurts. And then another thing I like too that Abra does to her, you said how she traps her. I like how she uses the wall of illusions because, she ends up designing this index card system and this filing system in her head to pull Rose in. And Rose is going through it, trying to go through the files and everything. And then as she's trying to go into, as Rose is going into Abra's head, Abra's going into Rose's head. And I love that scenario where Rose's head is actually her walls are broken down because she's so concerned about finding out things about Abra that she has no idea that Abra's already in her head. And I like how
Yeah,
she's going through these things of, okay, let's see what else is in here. And she just starts dabbling through the index cards and everything. So I liked how they did that. And Rose is even creeped out by it, even at the supermarket, which is also another creepy thing that Abra does as
yeah,
well. You have um, in the milk carton area, Rose is trying to get a thing of milk, and then all of a sudden, the glass breaks and knocks Rose off her ass.
all right.
And then, then of course that other thing that winds up happening that we're talking about now, and then she winds up shutting the filing cabinet door on Rose's hands.
Yeah, she tears that bitch up.
And but what else stood out for you as far as this being like the perfect sequel? Because I like the rehab stuff that Dan had to go through.
So it was very interesting to me because, first of all, it was very similar to the book, right? And the book was great. I mean, I loved it. I've said before, The Shining is one of my very favorite novels. I think it's probably the greatest American ghost story, even more so than Christmas Carol, right? I think it's phenomenal, and scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. What stood out to me was how, instead of just filming the novel, they turned it into a sequel to Kubrick's Shining, right? I thought that was very interesting. And at first I was really angry because of course I hate that movie. But then I thought, boy, he really does a good job of it, and sewing everything up at the end, and having Jack Torrance be Lloyd, right, the
Mhm.
bartender, and showing the girls, showing room 237. The carpeting is the same, and the music. The movie starts with the music from The Shining, right? It's the
Right.
first thing you see. It's black, and you've got the music from The Shining, very very iconic music, and it's just, gosh, I think the director's name, I don't remember his first name. It
Oh,
might be Mike, but his last name's Flanagan.
Flanagan. Yeah, Mike
Yeah,
Flanagan.
and Mike Flanagan, it is Mike. So I mean, he just, wow, what a way to take the book and this shitty movie and
And made it his
and
own. And
yes, he really does. He's a great director. I hope we see a lot more from him. He actually, and unfortunately, it didn't do very well in theaters. Critics loved it, but it didn't do very well in theaters. So I don't know if this will ever happen. But he had actually discussed two sequels. One was a prequel called Halloran, which I want to see so bad. I love Dick Halloran. And the other was about Abra when she grew older, which I don't know if I'm as excited about that. But King loved both of the ideas. So
to be
King
honest
was
with you,
very much behind this movie, not so much with Kubrick Shining, which I can't
no,
blame.
like I said, he used a metaphor of a engine that's been turned over and it just keeps going, and it doesn't have a way of refilling itself whenever it's done running or something like that. I'm
Yeah.
just paraphrasing because I remember reading up on it when I was watching The Shining when you and I were doing that review.
Hmm.
But you know, I am actually more interested in a Dick um,
Hmm.
Holland's
Very
story
much. Hmm.
than I am in Abra. Don't get me wrong, I love Abra, but you can do so much with Dick's story and how
Yeah.
he grew, especially that backstory he tells Doc
Yeah.
and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I think that is perfect for a movie adaptation, or
Yeah.
if Stephen King himself wants to go on ahead and write a book on it.
Yeah.
But
Well,
he
there's
doesn't ever
more
write.
to it.
Right,
Dick Halloran is in the book It.
right.
He saves Mike Hanlon, who is the black fella from the movie or from the book, who winds up staying in Derry. But he doesn't save him; he saves his father. So Mike Halloran wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for Dick Halloran. Um, I love that King did that in his book. Of course, he always shares characters and towns and stuff, and I always think that's very cool. But Dick Howard's just a fantastic character, right? Just wow, and that's why I get so. That's probably the thing that makes me angriest about The Shining is how misused he was,
And they kill
and
him
he
off.
is used really well here. Yeah, they kill him off. He didn't die in the novel, but even beyond that, this guy's got the shining. Like next to Danny, he's one of the biggest shiners. We spend like a quarter of the movie with him getting there, and the second he walks in, friggin' Torrance kills him, or really, Kubrick kills him, and it makes no sense whatsoever. Uh, and I think they've really redeemed that in Doctor Sleep.
I think so too. And another thing I want to mention is this, that because this is another thing I wanted to bring up was the fact that we talked about how Mike Flanagan directed it, but he also wrote the screenplay for this movie
Yeah.
as well.
Yep.
So he was really good at what he was doing.
Hmm.
But whenever Danny's inside the area, remember whenever he's basically people are calling him Doctor Sleep because of the fact that when someone's about to die, he goes
Right.
in their room.
Yeah.
So basically, there's a cat there named Azzy. I think that's how you say his
Azzy.
name.
Yeah, I think that's
Azzy.
right. I think it was
Yeah.
Azzy.
And he follows him to the empty room, but he puts down the magazine. And they used up most of the elements from The Shining from the 1980 were recreated with duplicate sets and look-alike actors. So 3 shots were reused: the aerial shot of the water, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you what, I really wish Scatman Crothers was still alive. I love Scatman Crothers, not just as Dick Howard, just in general. He's an amazing guy to watch. And I wish they had, and this guy was pretty good, right? He really was, but I wish they had used him, or, well, of course I couldn't use him because he was dead, but it would be very cool if they did something like in Star Wars where they basically recreated Peter Cushing and they did an amazing job at it. That would have been great, man. I the Scatman was perfect as Dick Howard, and I've seen Melvin Peebles do him now in the TV series, the miniseries, and this guy, I don't remember his name, unfortunately, but Scatman was Dick Howard, and I really wish they had somehow brought him back. Just incredible guy, fantastic role. That was it. That's all I had to say about that. All right. I can no longer hear you.
Nah, you're good.
There
But
you go.
no, but the True Knots and stuff like that was really good.
Hmm.
They were horrifying. They also needed a way of surviving. Rose doesn't care about if they survive or not, of course, because of the fact that what we see with the way they handle the grandfather, and of course he winds up dying. And then for now they need someone that's stronger, so that's why they're going after Aberrant to begin with as well.
Right.
You know, but I feel like even whenever Danny's over into the in the nursing home area and stuff like that when he sees Azzy.
Right. Right.
There's actually that death. There's a lot of death in this movie when
Yeah,
you're
there
reflecting off
is.
the knots and also
There is.
reflecting off of Danny and everything. That's what I was trying to go with whenever
Hmm.
um with that. But there's actually a little bit of a tip of the hat to the Dark Tower.
Oh, where's that?
There's remember whenever they talked he talked Danny talked about a nurse,
Hmm.
and the nurse's name was actually was the same name that they used in the Dark Tower, the one that had the split
Oh, was I
personalities.
totally missed that? That's very cool. Great, great book. Shitty movie, unfortunately. You can't do that thing in one movie. That, I mean, that was the problem. But that's interesting. I completely missed that. I love when films do that, right? When they make nods to other places, and especially Stephen King's universe is just so rich, right? I mean,
It's
things
definitely a shared
Castle
universe,
Rock, and yeah, and they're getting ready to do a prequel to it, uh,
right?
called Derry, in on
Welcome to
Netflix,
Derry. Yeah,
I think it is. Yeah.
HBO
And I
Max is
just
actually doing
love the
that.
way he does that. Oh, where is it?
HBO Max is actually putting that one together.
Ah, looks like I'll be using my kid's account.
Yep, and I'm excited for it. I'm actually excited for Welcome to Derry. I'm excited for that. I'm a huge Stephen King's fanatic and everything
Is that
too.
what it is? Welcome to Derry?
Yep.
That's great.
It's gonna be great. And then also too, they're also remaking. One of my friends is a diehard Stephen King fan though too. Michael, he's excited about the Salem's Lot remake.
I saw they were doing that as a film. Yeah, I saw the poster for that, and that's interesting because there hasn't been a good filmed version of Salem's Lot. Right, back in the day, Stephen King movies just they did shitty. Like every single one was just up until was it Frank Darabont who finally got it with some of the films he did. He finally started fixing Stephen King's films, and then once they went to miniseries on TV, King's so prolific. I mean, you can't do something in an hour and a half, 2 hour
No,
movie. You have to do a 2, 3 hour movie to make it decent. And so yeah, the Salem's Lot movie was terrible, just terrible. But I'm like your friend. I'm very excited to see how it does. That was so the first book I read by Stephen King. I had an English teacher who introduced me to him. He would read his short stories each week, and so Night Shift was the first book I read by him. But the first full novel was Salem's Lot, and just
oh
I remember on
nice.
the back cover they talked. They gave whatever the little blurb was, and then it ended with and then the sucking sounds began, and I just it's so chilly and wow, good stuff, man. Good stuff. God, I wish I could write like that guy.
You see,
Although I
I
will
actually
say my play did better than his. I just want to throw that out there.
most definitely. But the very first book I read was, of course, It. But also too, I think I would have to say before It, I read Christine. Was actually the first
Mm,
one.
yeah,
Because
good
I
book,
actually grew up.
shitty movie.
Yeah, definitely. But when you look at this though, as a whole, with this movie, let's talk about this. I was thinking that we were going to see Jack Nicholson as Lloyd for some reason because I would have loved to see that because I'm thinking to myself, okay, I see what they're doing with this. They're using the alcoholism that because of Jack, and also too because of the demons that Danny has. And Danny goes over to the bar and he sits down. I'm like, he's not going to see that old man at the bar. He's going to see his dad. That's what
Right,
I was thinking the whole time. And I'm thinking to myself, did they do a surprise cameo with Jack Nicholson, even though Jack
right.
Nicholson's retired from acting
Yeah.
and stuff like that since The Departed? I'm thinking to myself, did they do that? And they didn't. But the actor was okay. It wasn't as good as what I wanted it to be with
Yeah.
Jack, because I would have loved to see that father and son moment. They could have actually de-aged him or
Yeah.
defake him into that, and and let him talk to him. But I like how Danny winds up talking about his battle with alcohol and how he confronted it, where Danny's actually the stronger person than what Jack is. I like how he puts the shot glass down after he confronts him and telling him, I'm the one who had to take care of my mom. I'm the one who I kept on seeing dead flies on her while she was alive. And then a couple of days later, she's gone because the dead flies represent death.
Right.
And I like how he does that. And then we were talking about the nostalgia. We were talking about how we wind up seeing Mike Flanagan. He winds up using the nostalgia factor where you see the two girls. Then you also see the other things that winds up happening. We wind up seeing the door, but it's not just it's just not there for the sake of putting him in that abandoned building. It's there to actually confront his demons, to take down Rose the Hat, and to be able to put an end to the Overlook and put a stamp on it. And
Right.
I love that so much. And when I saw the door, I geeked out because of the fact that it is Stanley Kubrick's, but it also resembles Jack Nicholson going and having that iconic line. But it wasn't just there of saying of oh there's a door that's caught up in half, and that's it. He goes into the flashback of Danny being haunted by what happened in that overlook. Now, if they just went on ahead and just showed the door being broken and then they panned away from it, there's no meat there to actually. There's no meat there for Danny to have that flashback. It's just there for the sake of being nostalgia and not there for moving the plot along.
Yeah. So I agree with you. The guy he does good, but how do you do Jack Nicholson, right? You
Right,
either don't pull it off or you sound like you're doing an impression, right? Neither would
right.
be good for this film.
And he didn't do neither
I
one.
would have preferred when it first starts, you see his arms and it's Lloyd, and then eventually Dan says, basically alludes to, "You're my dad, right? This is the same liquor that you used to drink." I wish they just wouldn't have even shown him, right?
Mm.
Just shown his arms and just, done shots like that, maybe silhouettes and right and you
No,
could still have the same actor do the voice and stuff. That was okay.
well, I have a
But
better idea
mhm,
though. You said that he could just use his arms or his
mhm,
hands, and all you can have is just a monologue between Danny and him, and the guy not even saying anything because he's a ghost anyways. So you don't really need to have any monologue since the guy is dead.
mhm,
So all you have to do is say, "I know who you are. You're my dad."
mhm.
And then he can go into the whole entire dialogue, like I mentioned, with taking care of his mom and all that stuff. And then you can see him just put the shot glass down and walk away, and that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. You think that's better than my idea? You think you're better than me? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what
No,
I'm saying.
actually, you probably are.
No, no, no,
Probably
no.
are.
You have
Um,
books that you wrote.
well,
I just talk shit on the air.
I can't get 74 fucking people on my show, so I don't know who's doing better. Um, I liked how I even, every character he builds up and gives a little arc to, right? Either a big arc or a little arc. And even the Jack Torrance character, who's barely in this movie, I like how he starts off. He says a couple times, "You've mistaken me for somebody else." That's not as Dan's kind of alluding to him being his father. That's not who I am, basically. But then all of a sudden, when he switches over to calling him a pup, talking about his medicine, and is obviously now saying, "Oh yeah, you got me. Well, here's the problem, you little prick," right?
Mhm.
I love that little mini arc they do. I think it's great going from no, that's not who I am to it's absolutely who I am.
Mhm. And also too, man, there's also that other thing too where you have Rose that comes up to Danny and everything because that's actually the point where he starts up the boiler, and you also see everything decayed. Everything is just dark. I love how they do that. And then Rose comes up to him, and that typewriter is still there from the very first
Yeah,
Shining.
yeah,
And I'm like, ooh, that's just creepy. But
right,
and then Rose comes and goes, oh, I I wonder why I never ran into you.
right, right. She's like, "Where have you been keeping yourself?" Right? Because I think ultimately, Danny is more powerful than Abra, more powerful than Rose. I think he's the most powerful Shiner there is. Right? He holds it back, but look at the things he does. Right? I mean, that scene where he takes over Abra and kills Crow Daddy by, basically forcing him to run into a tree. I mean, Danny's an amazing guy, and Dick Howard knew it.
He
Right?
knew
He almost gave the
exactly,
guy an aneurysm across the country when he called him as a child.
but you didn't know at the level of the shine that he had. Yeah, it was shocking to see
Hmm.
him being able to contact Dick through the shine, but knowing that he can actually go through Abra to get to the crow and to make the crow crash into the tree, he goes, "Well, I have one more magic trick." He goes, "Oh, really? And what's that?"
Right.
And
You just know, oh, he's gonna
right,
fuck you up, man.
right,
He is gonna fuck you up.
hmm.
No, it's great. It's great.
But dude, this movie is so good. I remember doing just the audio only podcast. It was supposed to be a non spoiler review, and it turned into like a spoiler review because I was just going to the comparison of the book and comparing it over into the movie. I'm like, well, that's so much for doing a non spoiler review. But I was just so enticed into it, and also too, I wish they would have actually showed a little bit of the corruption that went on within the walls of the Overlook Hotel in the very first movie because there was a lot of corruption there with the billing. Also, too, you have the mob in there, stuff like that. But this is not the Shining review. But I wish there was like little small nuggets that they could have done with that. But then you see Danny in this movie. He does the boiler just like his dad does. he's possessed with the axe in his hand, just like Jack is.
Yeah.
I loved it. I was just eating it all up. I'm like, and there's only me and maybe two other people in the theater at the time. I'm like, why is this movie being played? Why is Midway? Why is this being released at the same day as Midway? This movie should have been released a couple of days after.
Yeah.
So it can, even though The Shining didn't make that much money, this movie deserved to make the money that it did and had the
Yeah.
publicity. But it didn't even make it, and I wish it did.
Yeah, it's really a shame. And you know, if you haven't seen the movie, folks out there, if you haven't seen the movie, then you really should. And if after what we've both said about it, you still don't, you're kind of a jerk face. But when I when I just think, man, they captured it perfect. And like I said, it's not just a novel. They really turned it into a sequel to the original movie. And in a way that I liked, right? I think they did for me. Maybe they did for me. It was gosh, it's really good. And all the actors are good. Ewan McGregor is amazing. I'm a big fan of his anyway. This little girl who plays Abra, she's
It's phenomenal.
fantastic. Oh, she really is. And Rose the Hat she is channeling that character from the book. I mean, she's perfect. Everybody is great in this movie, right? There's not a bad actor in a lot of them, and
No,
it's definitely you got to watch it. If you haven't seen it, you got to watch this movie. It's so good.
it definitely ranks up there as one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations of a movie, from book adaptation to a movie adaptation.
Is it?
So, yeah, it's number one in my book. Don't get me wrong, I love the It Chapter One and It Chapter Two remakes. I thought they were good,
They
but
were good.
I put this one above that
Mhm.
because of the way that Mike Flanagan told the story that needed to be told. You
Yeah,
know, I like
yeah. So,
Muschietti, but this is actually top notch in my opinion.
oh, it's fantastic. I think my favorite Stephen, did you just see me like try to put my hand on the table and slide off? Jesus Christ, what's wrong with me? I think my favorite Stephen King movie is The Dead Zone. Right now, first of all, I'm David Cronenberg, my favorite director, maybe next to John Waters. Right, just fantastic. And Christopher Walken, not playing Christopher Walken for once, and gosh, just fantastic. So I actually think that one might be my favorite, and I think it might be one of the most Stephen King films, but it was really good. The first one was a little bit better than the first, than the second,
Yeah,
and this one ranks right up there. I mean, it is really, as a Stephen King film goes, really good, very
definitely.
very good. They
Um,
hit on a lot of themes and created some themes. That's what's cool is they didn't just rely on what they got from the novel. They really created some themes as well. This
I
guy, I hope we see some more stuff from him because he was good.
most definitely, and I do want to go into a little bit of trivia. As he actually means the angel of death. That's also
I
another
did
thing.
not know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either until I started doing some research and stuff like that. So I thought that was actually pretty interesting.
It is interesting.
Then let's see, Hugo McGregor, who played Danny,
Hmm.
when interviewed, get this, he had no interest in any type of horror movies or anything like that. He didn't start reading or watching The Shining until he got the part, and he was just found it fascinating.
Yeah, he's pretty good. I love him. I haven't had a chance to watch the new Obi-Wan
It's good,
series, but is it really good? I've got it to watch, but I haven't done it yet. Um, he's fantastic, and he has been since he started, right? I mean, Train Spotting, brilliant in that, and he really just took off with every role he does, and this one is no exception. He's fantastic in it, and he pulls off the English accent or the American accent, which doesn't always happen. Love me some Matt Smith. If you saw Morbius, his or Manson or any other movie he's been in. He's great in them, but his American accent sucks. So it's amazing how really good he is in this. Just fantastic.
Well, you know what else is fantastic? Here's the thing. I've been wondering about this too. So I know that you've been doing a lot of writing and stuff like that. So tell me a little bit about the play that you're writing, and also too, tell me a little bit about the novel that you're writing, and how are you
Sure.
finding time to balance those two things? I thought I had ADD with me trying to read two books at once. I can't imagine writing two different separate things.
Well, so the first thing is I've retired. I retired from my job. It was a lot harder when I was working, because obviously that took up time, as far as they know. And I was always busy, so I would get maybe a chapter every couple weeks and stuff done. But since I retired here in Panama, lovely Boquete, Panama, I've got a lot of time, and I actually wind up spending most of my time watching TV, but I make sure at least 2 to 3 hours a day I'm writing. I've got that scheduled, and so the play that I've done is called Murder on Gilligan's Island, and it's kind of a spoof of 70s sitcoms. It's not just characters from Gilligan's Island. For instance, the Howells don't show up because I always hated them. Lenny and Squiggy from Laverne and Shirley wind up getting hired by the Howells to take their place. So, and there's multiple characters from 70s sitcom shows, and also kind of bad dinner theater. So it's a combination of those two. It's really funny, if I do say so myself, and I do. And that is actually premiering here in Panama in September. So that'll be cool. That'll make me an international playwright, which sounds so much better than I am. And my novel is Penny Dreadful, and it's about a little girl, 11-year-old girl. It's a children's novel, believe it or not.
Hmm.
And it's about a little girl who lives in a magic house, who she breaks into these rooms, and these rooms take her through various periods of time. And yeah, it takes off from there, and that's my readers so far who I've got kind of listening to it. I go to some writers groups, and the people they're loving it, and I've sent to my nieces. I actually wrote this because I have two 13-year-old nieces, and I want them to be able to read something I wrote, and they certainly cannot read my other stuff. So and I think it's making its mark. I actually think it might be my best novel yet. So I expect that to be out maybe either late fall, early winter. So very excited about that.
Congratulations to you, man. That's fantastic. I'm actually
So
glad to
much.
hear. You're very welcome. Because here's the thing, I'm a big supporter of you. I think that you're. I've read a couple of your books and stuff like that when I first interviewed you, and you have mad talent. I'm going to be honest with you. I like the stuff that I read, and I'm excited about the play. I'm excited about this new thing that you're doing. I can't wait to read the children's novel, even though I'm not a kid. But I'm a kid at heart, so that counts. But I
Mhm.
am excited about checking that out as well. So.
Thanks very
Welcome.
much. I'm gonna throw out something that I haven't said anywhere else. It's kind of a surprise, so I'm letting it go on your show because I love being on your show. I'm on it quite a bit. That I feel like you should start paying me, but I'm gonna go ahead and say this. So coming October, we're actually going to release a video of Texas Chainsaw Musical on YouTube. So it'll be available for the entire month of October for everyone to watch, and
I'm excited to
I'm
see
very
that.
excited about this. Yeah, I'm super excited. It's really a fun play, and the theater where we filmed this and are releasing just really got it. I mean, this guy Patrick Chiamaco directed it. They opened their theater with this show. They've shown it 3 times so far, and sold out shows every single time. I mean, he really got this show. So it's going to be super exciting. Your guys, you know, your fans should definitely catch it in October, and I'm sure we'll talk before then.
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to talk again. But if anybody that should being paid, it should be me with all the equipment that you've been breaking around here.
Oh,
So,
son of a bitch! Oh my god!
right?
Wow. Okay, you're probably right though.
Exactly. So but it is what it is. I had to replace a microphone. I had to replace some soundproofing stuff because of you, and then also too, every single time when you come on the show, it's always storming.
I don't know
So
what's going on, man.
I
I don't
don't
know what
either.
it is. You're sucking off my bad luck is is what's going on. I really
I'm
got
in
to
such a
build up some good karma, man. I don't know what's going on. But
but
yeah,
no.
so sue me because I ain't paying you dick.
Well, guess what? All I have is lint, but I will say this: it's always an honor to have you on the show, man. I always enjoy just talking about movies, just chatting it up with you on here, and it's always a pleasure.
Thanks so much, man. I love doing your show. I really do. I do your show probably more than any other podcast that I guest on. Just cause it great topics, great movies, and you know your show will be even better once you do John Dies at the End. Just saying.
I don't want to die. Okay.
I guess it's
I
not you to die.
don't, right. I had
It
one of my
is
friends
one
one
of my
time.
favorite new movies, and I am going to hit on you until you eventually review this movie.
I'm
It's
probably am though. I'm probably gonna
brilliant.
wind up reviewing it pretty soon, and I'll let you know when.
Oh,
But
I will absolutely be part of that. It's an amazing film.
let me tell you something funny though. Before we wrap up,
Hmm.
I had this friend of mine. She was watching John Dies at the end. I was like, "Well, thanks."
Mm.
As that spoiler alert, she goes, "Not you, not you." I'm like, "Okay, that's true. I was born in the '80s, so there's plenty of other Johns that probably died. So I'm still
Right?
good." But
Did she love it? Did she like it?
I don't remember, to be honest with you, is
Oh, she
because
loved it. I'll tell you now, she loved it. She was telling me how much she liked it.
that's what it was. She was using her shine to tell you how much she
She
loved
was shining to me. Shine on, baby. Shine on, Abra.
it.
Shine
So
on.
with that being said, Chris, where can everybody follow you at and stuff like that if they want to go in and check out your books? I also have the links in the description for people to follow you as well.
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook, right, as Christopher Minori. I'm an attention hound, so I absolutely will. If you friend me, I will bring you on. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter as CT Minori. And then, you know, on YouTube, also my channel is CT Minori, and that's where I do my show. I fucking suck at video games, which purports to show how much I fucking suck at video games. So, yeah, anybody, and I really need people to subscribe to my shows. So, you know, there's like 1,000 of you out there on John's show. A couple of you can't just join my show, you bastards. Come on, help me out.
Well, we are a movie podcast, Chris. I'm sorry,
That is
but
true.
we do
That
have
is
some
true.
gamers. But we do have gamers probably. Go over there, subscribe over to his channel. His channel's a lot of fun. I even recommend it. I laugh my ass off on some of the stuff that you do on your channel. But
Thank you.
you're
Thank
very
you.
welcome. So, with that being said, tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, I'm going to have Alex on the show. I'm going to have Abby from Motor City Nerds on my show. I'm going to have Will from Conversations About podcast on my show. We're going to be doing a Marvel Phase 6 news report of everything that happened at Comic Con and everything that we're getting in for movie news that's been flowing in throughout the week. So we're going to be talking about that, doing a little bit of speculation. Once again, that's 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time for that. Then following up on Thursday, we're wrapping up our Godfather 3 review. And even though that movie sucks, just as bad as The Shining, but we're doing it anyways at 9 o'clock Central Time, 10 o'clock Eastern, and of course 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific Time for that suck ass movie. I mean, for that movie. So,
That is
so
super exciting. Did
but,
when you went to Comic Con, did you check out any
well,
of the Doctor Who stuff?
I wasn't there. It was stuff that was on YouTube that was brought in. So, and plus, I
What
was
kind of
trying to
bullshit
recover.
is that?
Hey, I had COVID, dude. I had COVID for last week. This is my first time actually feeling 100%. I had to ease my way into doing this show for tonight. Like I did a
God, I had a light cold. You don't hear me bitching, Horatio.
oh, just write your 2 books. I call it a day. But like I said, you're the talent. All I do is run my mouth. That's all I do. But you
You
know,
run it good.
but you know what though, guys? I also have a couple of other stuff on the channel that we've done. We did 3 trailer reactions. We did a John Wick trailer, John Wick Chapter 4 trailer reaction. We did a She-Hulk trailer reaction. We've done a D&D trailer reaction that we did. And then, of course, I did my Black Phone non-spoiler review. And then I also wrapped it up with Old, which is also the the Shamhammer's movie of Old, which is M. Night Shyamalan.
I caught that. That was an awesome, awesome video. I love the She-Hulk one too. I'm so super
Thank you.
excited to see that. So, yeah, good job as always, John.
Thank you, man. As always, a
Well,
pleasure.
thank
And
you for being on my show.
your show, you broke everything I had. This is
Oh,
my
that's right. I knew it was. I knew it was definitely one of ours.
Right, exactly. But mi casa is su casa, and I'm happy to have you as always, man. And with that
Gracias,
being
man.
said, don't forget to smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. Also, to comment below. Tell us what you think of Dr. Sleep. If you haven't seen Dr. Sleep and you happen to hear our review, tell us in the comment section on what you liked. Also, too, don't forget to rate us on Apple Podcasts and Good Pods and Spotify. That actually helps our audience find new audiences to be able to enjoy our shows. Always until next time, guys. It's been real. It's been fun. I can't wait to do this again. And